guest Parthasarthy joins in on the show right now. Mr. Parthasarthy, great to have you on the show. The first half of the year, clearly was riddled with lockdowns in China, war in Ukraine. Not that any of that has changed, but these headwinds slowly are something that, we're coping with and trying to digest and work around it. Wanted to understand if we can expect a better second half or a better final quarter for the calendar year going ahead in terms of volumes that you may clock, and would it then translate to your top line growth too?
Thank you. And always happy to be on ET now and with you. First and foremost, your question was about the high headwinds in the quarter one, at least that's what we've had results come out. But and they were headwinds, no doubt. But if you look at our performance, in spite of the headwinds, had the highest volume in the history of Allcargo, both on LCL and FCL. And also, not only did it show a year-on-year growth, which it did handsomely, but also quarter-on-quarter growth. And international supply chain business, which contributes about 5,000 crores quarterly revenue, witnessed a 5 to 7% quarter-on-quarter growth. Year-on-year, it was a very high figure, but even in terms of quarter. So what I'm just saying is that even in a tough environment like the one you suggested or you pointed out, we done well. In the quarter, we have shown great resilience. Continue as we go forward, we continue to strengthen our network and cargo handling capabilities and capacity, and therefore we expect both the volume to grow in the coming quarters and therefore overall profitability as well.
Exports are down, which is what they are, and if Europe and US remains under a recessionary pressure, what happens to the export-dominated business?
So there are some positives and some negatives in the overall global logistic trade. So, like you rightly said, there may be some bit of softening of trade in the second half because of what happening in US and Europe. But if you look from an industry perspective, the auto industry tends to be currently is in a very booming phase, not just in India, but because of the trade and the trade things going and the chips being in shortage, there is a huge amount of positive momentum. China had a lockdown and it's come to normalcy. That should add to this. So in balance, I would say trade would be on even keel. And what I was kind of pointing out that because we are in LCL business, which consolidate the cargo and we run the largest and more complex LCL network, we are in a very good position to build. Okay. And while I expect there is a softening of yield and therefore revenue per TEU, but volumes for us certainly will tend to, there is a propensity for us to consolidate and grow volumes. So we may have a top line which is slightly softer because of yields coming down, but our profitability should go. So I'm looking forward to the second half. And the other thing is September, October, the activity picks up for world as a whole. As we pick up this activity, certainly we are looking with a lot of optimism. And I think the overall industry will also see a growth because these are growth months.
Mr. Parthasarthy, why are freight rates still suppressed, or are we getting this wrong? Please correct me if I'm wrong here.
So you are, as usual, correct in one sense, but I just will give you a technical thing. The freight rates went up dramatically in the, if you leave the last 6 months, before that, for the last 1.5 years, the freight rate dramatically went up. So now what is happening is coming down in the sense it's correcting itself to a normal. Yeah. So that softening is what you are seeing. And in a sense, it's not suppressed. It's kind of evening out from an all-time high that we saw 6-8 months back. And this is good. And what we need to keep in mind is companies like Allcargo, what we get is the difference between what the shippers give us and what we pass on. So it tends to be a pass on rate, and what we make is absolute margin per TEU that we ship, and that is been consistent, or that's been quite stable. It's only the rates or the revenue which is impacted slightly. As I say, as usual, it's part yes and part no.
Good morning. I wanted to ask you a company-specific question as well, and that is, Allcargo's plans as far as demerger goes, to demerge two listed entities as well, where you've talked about having an asset-light model, which will also enable you to have monetization. Real estate business can fly, pension funds can enter. Can you give us an update on all of that?
Thank you very much. So the demerger process first is on track. We have approval from the Allcargo Logistics Board, the exchange, as well as shareholders. We have filed with the NCLT. We got some things done away with. NCLT has been kind enough to say we can move this forward and move it forward fast. So we expect this to get completed in the last quarter of this financial year. So that's where we are. And the process, March, April timeframe, we should come to an end. Like you rightly said, we are creating 3 listed companies. One is the current co, which will have the international supply chain business. Then we'll have a real estate company which could house real estate and warehousing businesses, and then a CFS business. As you rightly pointed out, we had embarked on an asset-light business for the integrated supply chain, and that's what we will have going forward. However, real estate business by its very nature may require more capital, and the way profitability is looked there and the way return is looked is very different from an international supply chain. So the right kind of shareholders, you rightly pointed out, the pension funds and other such investors may want to come into the real estate or CFS business, which is more steady kind of income, and which may be asset heavy in that sense. So therefore, we allow each listed company to be to attract the right kind of investors. At the same time, give them wings to fly, so that they can all grow and prosper. And what we expect that the sum of parts then will be larger than if I had a single entity. So that's the game plan here going forward. And as the merger gets completed, there'll be 3 listed company here, over and above, of course, Gati, which is already a listed company.
Okay, so that's of course going to be the big restructuring at Allcargo, where it will be demerged there'll be 2 more entities, 3 listed entities in all. You're getting the calendar also right here on ET Now from the top management. Thank you so much for joining us live today on the show.